Productions.
When I was a kid, my favorite console was the Sega Mega Drive/Genesis. Games like Sonic 1 and 2, Ghouls and Ghosts and World of Illusion got me hooked on gaming, and it quickly became my favorite pastime. In the mid-90s, my mother and I moved from Sweden to Germany. We would drive to Sweden about 3 times a year to visit my father and some other relatives. In 1997, my dad told me on the phone that he had bought a new video game system. So when we got there the next time, I saw it in all its glory. The Sony PlayStation. He had already bought quite a few games. The only ones I remember from that day were Oddworld Apes Odyssey, Mickey's Wild Adventure and of course Tomb Raider. Up until that point I had never seen a game in 3D before. The only thing that even came close was Balls 3D. Yeah. The first game he showed me was Tomb Raider, and it changed my world forever. It literally opened up a new dimension for me from the minute I heard the PlayStation startup sound for the first time. After that, I didn't care about those old Sega games anymore, at least for a while. For now, I was hooked. The PlayStation made my dreams come true. I wasn't great at the game, and it took a while to get used to moving around in a 3D environment. Nonetheless, Tomb Raider became the most fascinating thing I had ever seen up to this point, and I have been a huge fan of the series ever since. In 2010 I reviewed this game, and to this day it's my most watched episode. Even though the video quality is absolute shit. Who cares? It was a simpler time. Anyway, the game was released on the Sega Saturn in October of 1996 and it came to the PlayStation and MS-DOS 1 month later. So this month marks the 25th anniversary of the PlayStation release. We've got some questions that need answers. Has the very first Tomb Raider game aged well? Is it even playable today? What made the game so special when it came out? Let's take a detailed look at maybe the most important game in my personal gaming history.
GFrom, the gamer legend, he's come to show you the way in this world of games. GFrom reviews.
In this game we play as Lara Croft, a famous adventurer who has just returned from an expedition to capture Bigfoot. Lara is relaxing in a hotel in India when she's approached by a Texan named Larson. He introduces her to his employer Jacqueline Natla via video screen. That's so 2021. Natla asks her to acquire an ancient artifact called Scion in the mountains of Peru. How could she possibly say no? When this game came out, it was a big deal that the main character was a woman. That was far from the norm. As a 7-year-old kid, I didn't really think about it. I just thought she was a badass character. Before we start the main adventure, we have the option to visit Lara's home, also known as Lara's big-ass mansion. Here Lara, who is voiced by the wonderful Shelley Blonde, explains all of her moves to the player.
Welcome to my home. I'll take you on a guided tour.
The first thing you notice besides Lara's polygons is that this game has tank controls. Especially for modern players, that can take some getting used to. In the music room we learn how to move. I remember just jumping around and doing backflips endlessly. In the main hall we learn how to climb up these crates. The main attraction is the gym. Lara explains her moves from basic to complicated. Those are essential for the main game.
Well, let's do some exercises.
Holding R1 will make Lara walk very slow. This way she can't fall off edges. By holding X after a jump she will hold on to the edge. If you let go, she lets go.
Press forward and I'll climb up.
Tapping down will make her hop backwards. If you now push forward and hold the jump button, she will perform a long jump after a few steps. With a backwards hop, you will have the exact distance you need for this long jump. It's basically one square. By holding X while hanging down from an edge and pushing left or right, you can shimmy to the side. After all these lessons, it's time for a swim in the pool.
Let's go for a swim.
The swimming controls are pretty good in my opinion, as are the controls in general. For me, it has become second nature.
Air.
Air. Newcomers will most likely have their problems. Modern games don't play like this at all. There isn't that much to do in Lara's home, but I always love to come back here.
Now I'd better take off these wet clothes.
Okay, I won't look. Now that we've cleared boot camp, it's time to travel to Peru. This might be the time to talk about the CGI cutscenes. While they might look chunky nowadays, they were the absolute shit back in the day. For me, the graphics were nothing short of incredible and it felt like I was watching a movie. It sets the tone right away. Lara's guide gets killed by wolves and she deals with it in the coolest way possible. Such a badass start to this game. Without the guide, we're entering the first level on our own. The loading screen is one of the most classic images I can think of. And surprisingly, the loading times aren't that bad. Caves starts off with footprints in the snow and mysterious ambient sounds. Mostly you'll only hear your own footsteps.
Even though I've played it more times than I can count, the game always manages to pull me in from the get-go.
After only a few seconds, arrows shoot out of the walls. They don't do much damage, but it feels like a warning not to go any further. Lara looks to the left here to make sure it's the correct way to go. But if we continue forwards, we can see a slope. Backflip onto it, jump again, and here we have our first secret, which is indicated by a short soundbite. There are secrets in every level, but you never know in advance how many. Some are more obvious and others are really cryptic.
It's advised to look for them because they reward you with either ammunition or health.
The first enemies we encounter are bats. They only take a few shots with your trusty dual pistols. Lara aims automatically and the pistols have infinite ammo, so what's not to like? As we get deeper into the caves, we find our first switch. These usually open doors. On my first attempt back then, this room with the bridges left a big impression on me. I still remember my dad telling me not to fall down here. Why? Wolves. They aren't the strongest enemies, but they are pretty fast and the sound they make creeped me out. Nowadays, I find it just weird. I like that you aren't confronted with them face to face here, but you can watch them from above or skip the fight entirely. Same goes for the next encounter with a bear. Papa Bear is much stronger than your average wolf, but we can shoot him from up here. Down there we'll find a medipack and a tile we can step on to open a door which leads us back to the bridge. Back up here we find this mysterious blue crystal, a save crystal.
Unlike most of the later games or the MS-DOS version, you can only save when you find one of these.
That makes this experience a lot more tense because you might have to replay a large chunk of a level when you die. Very rarely music will start playing and then you know shit's about to get real. In this case, a couple of wolves ambush us. Doesn't seem like a big deal nowadays, but back then I was terrified. Here we find our first timed door and later breakable tiles. The level ends with a close encounter with a wolf and another timed door. It's a pretty short level and not hard, but it's such a classic and so nostalgic to me. Slowly but steadily, the game teaches us one mechanic after the other and it sets the tone for the rest to come. By the way, the in-game clock is messed up as the time is never correct. City of Vilcabamba gets straight to the point and throws a whole pack of wolves at us. The level is less linear than the previous and feels a little more open. Basically, we have one central room and corridors surrounding it, full of bats and the occasional jump scare. Cheap bastard. In the center we have our first direct encounter with a bear. Frightening. In the middle there's a pool and here we have to find some underwater switches. Since my early childhood I have had nightmares about drowning, so these parts were always especially challenging for me. Of course we only have a limited amount of air, so finding the switches fast is preferable.
Preferable to drowning, that is.
This part is entirely optional by the way, but how would you know that? Back on the surface we open this door and enter a room with floating breakable tiles. Look at this wall made out of skulls. Where in the hell are we? At first it seems like there's nothing to do here, but one part of the wall looks weird. And wouldn't you know it, you can push this block. This is the game mechanic that has aged the worst in my opinion. It just takes too long and is so slow. But I gotta tell ya, Lara sure is a strong woman, pushing and pulling these giant blocks like it's nothing. Here we find a key and a gold idol. After a few more arrows and wolves, we see a building with 3 doors. Only one of them is open. Here we have to do some dangerous platforming to get up. But if we fall down, we'll land in the pool. Very considerate. Same goes for the room on the right. Enter the room in the middle very slowly or you'll definitely get chopped up by blades. How the fuck would you know that on your first try? That is some trial and error bullshit if I've ever seen it. When you know what to expect, it's a breeze to get past them. The next switch opens a trap door, but thankfully it's only water down there.
We learn we have to be careful.
Don't trust this game.
Now we only have to kill a bear, put the gold idol in place and leave the level. City of Vilcabamba feels similar to the first stage from an atmospheric standpoint. I like that you have room to explore and that many combat encounters are optional. But bravery is often rewarded with goodies. This doesn't stick out as an exciting part of the game. It does a good job of teaching us more about the gameplay and how to approach a level. It's fine for what it is, but out of the Peru levels, this is the least memorable for me. Lost Valley is the level everyone remembers. But first things first. At the beginning you can jump into the water, which will make you fall down the waterfall. Awesome! Here we can watch some wolves in their natural habitat. Going down to the right is a trap, because all you will find are more hungry wolves. Instead we have to climb up, where we discover a skeleton and a medipack. Thanks, buddy! We enter a grassy area, which is a stark contrast to the grey and white dominated caves we've seen so far. And holy shit, what the hell? A red fucking velociraptor! Now we know this ain't no ordinary game. Fucking dinosaurs.
As a kid, this blew me away, and as a huge fan of Jurassic Park, I still approve.
They take a lot more hits than your average wolf. So we walk along and holy mother of baby Jesus twin brother, a goddamn giant ass T-Rex. Back then this thing scared the crap out of me and I always hid inside this cave. If you get too close to it, it will tear you to pieces. Today I'm always surprised how easy it goes down. This has to be the most memorable scene in any Tomb Raider game. It's so iconic and is one of my best gaming moments for sure. Now in this level we have to find 3 cogwheels. It's an open-ended feeling, especially because this is the only level in the entire game where we can see the sky. I think. Another scary moment for 7-year-old GFrom was this part where you have to get out of the water to shoot a raptor. Once we've found the cogwheels, it's back to the starting area where we have to insert them and pull the switch. This causes a gate to shut off the waterfall, revealing an opening that leads to the next level. As tempting as it is to go there, it's wise to explore the area a little further. It's easy to miss, but here we find our second weapon, the shotgun. Too bad I've already killed every enemy in this level. Lost Valley is amazing. Granted, the most exciting thing by far are the enemies. It's the dream of every 90s kid. But I also enjoy the exploration, as this level has the most secrets in the entire game. It might be the quintessential Tomb Raider stage. We now enter the Tomb of Qualopec. Right away we get the chance to test the shotgun on some raptors. Bam! Dead! Sweet. In an homage to Indiana Jones, we also get a rolling boulder to run away from. Touching it obviously means instant death and crushed dreams. 3 gates with different symbols block the entrance to the Scion. At this intersection, each way leads to a switch that opens a gate. You can explore them in any order. The most confusing is the path of the bird, so I usually start with this one and get it out of the way. It's the first real puzzle. Lara has to pull switches that move these enormous blocks. Honestly, it's not that much of a brain teaser, but it's given me trouble in the past, especially because it can be hard to see where you're supposed to jump. In the other PS1 Tomb Raider games I don't have this problem, but here it's hard to tell the distance sometimes. You gotta love these 2D sprites of static images, especially the skull. Now that's old school. After finishing this area we hear heavy steps and yes, it's a dinosaur. Kill it. Rest in peace, my bloodthirsty friend. The next area leads to a trap door and the last couple of wolves of the game. We pull a block and do some platforming. Area number 3 gives us even more block pushing. Yawn. Under the breakaway tiles are spikes, so watch out. Now all 3 gates are open. Next to the arrows are 2 secrets that I never would have found without a guide. This one is just nuts. You have to drop down to the spikes, but there's hardly any room. There it is, the Scion. Is that Qualopec on the throne? And 2 mummies next to him. Wait a minute. The mummy. It's watching me. It's alive! Oh, sorry bro. Now the moment of truth. Lara grabs the Scion and the ceiling starts to collapse. Amazing music starts playing and even more of the ceiling is coming down. We return to the Lost Valley and look who's here. Larson, that backstabbing prick, is trying to kill us with his golden gun. At least it looks like it from certain angles. Who does he think he is? A James Bond villain? This guy can take a lot of bullets. Eventually he goes down and a cutscene is triggered. It turns out this was just a piece of the Scion and Natla sent a guy named Pierre Dupont to find the rest. After giving Larson a final kick to the face, we're done with the Peru levels.
Thank you.
Tomb of Qualopec is another great stage that unfortunately isn't as great as I remember. The 3 gates concept is cool, but 2 of the 3 paths left me underwhelmed. Still, I like the beginning with the raptors and especially the parts with the Scion and Larson. Overall, the Peru levels are a great start to Lara's first adventure and I'm excited for what comes next. A CGI cutscene showcases once again what a badass Lara is. She breaks into one of Natla's buildings. In a book she finds out about the Tomb of Tihocan, one of 3 rulers of Atlantis. So Lara travels to Greece and finds an empty can of beans.
Pierre, you litterbug.
Pierre, you litterbug. I don't know why, but I've always liked that line.
St. Francis Folly is the first Greece level and again the loading screen has such a classic image. Visually we have to get used to more brown and orange tones, which is fine by me. Right at the beginning we are attacked by both a female and a male lion. These are much stronger than wolves, but they're slowpokes. After a little block puzzle we enter a room full of gorillas. They are pretty fast and I love the sounds they make. Who do we have here? Pierre already? This guy keeps showing up throughout the next levels. Therefore he can't be killed here and it's pretty ridiculous how much damage he can take. Are you a man or a French god? After a while he just disappears around a corner. Personally, I love this and enjoy the kind of cat and mouse game they're playing. Plus, I find it amusing to yell Pierre every time he shows up.
You could make a sweet drinking game around that concept.
Okay, here's one of the most annoying secrets in the entire game. Sometimes I make it on the first try and other times I can spend 5 minutes here without success. I even had to use my first Medipack here. These come in 2 different sizes by the way. A small Medipack refills half your energy and a large all of it. Another bullshit secret is this one. It takes a lot of trial and error to figure out how to get over there. In the water we meet our first crocodile. They aren't terribly fast underwater, but on land they're not to be underestimated. As a kid I called them crocofans for some reason. Probably something my dad came up with. The next section is my favorite part of the entire game. We enter this tall room. How tall? Just ask Lara. I counted 6 floors. Thanks, Lara. At the bottom floor is a door that needs 4 keys to open it. We have to find 4 switches that each open one door named after a god. I usually go down floor by floor, pulling all switches first and then I work my way up again. Not this time, however. Just watch out for the bats. Mostly you'll hear the suckers flapping their wings. The first room I went to was Thor.
Since when is Thor a Greek god?
An incredible piece of music starts playing and we see this funky disco ball shoot bolts of lightning. It can hurt you practically anywhere. I don't know any safe place to go. You'd have to look it up or just try 75 times. Next up we have to make Thor's hammer fall down. Stand on the pressure pad until you hear a crack and jump backwards. Unless you want to feel Thor's hammer crush that precious 32-bit face of yours. A couple of movable stone blocks fall down. Push blocks get the key and try to get past the lightning again. This used to be the most amazing part of the entire game for me when I was younger. Maybe it had to do with the fact that the image on our old TV was too damn dark so you couldn't see anything. I was so scared of the hammer and the noise it makes. The music might have been a factor as well. Today I find this room underwhelming. Most of it is just pushing blocks and the lightning is kind of cheap. Still, it's nostalgic. After that, Pierre starts shooting us from the bottom floor. What a mischievous prick. And look, he brought this army of lions as well. In the Atlas room we have to kill a gorilla and run away from a boulder. Simple stuff. The Neptune room has a pool with a strong current. We have to find a switch. Again, my fear of deep water made this part uncomfortable for me as a kid, but in a strangely positive way.
Overcoming your fears feels awesome.
The Damocles room is kinda tricky. As you enter it, you see a bunch of swords hanging from the ceiling. After we pick up the key, the swords start falling down once we get close to them. It's not easy to predict where they will land, so proceed with caution. Even today I find this part unsettling. It's a personal highlight. With all 4 keys in our possession, we can move on to the next level. What can I say? St. Francis Folly has always been my #1 level of this game, and it still is. I love the concept, level layout, and atmosphere. I think it holds up very well in the context of the series as a whole. Colosseum is another impressive level. After some platforming and killing lions and crocophants, we enter the Colosseum and it's fucking huge! So large in fact that the draw distance doesn't allow us to see the entire thing. The arena is full of animals that we can shoot from a safe distance. But of course, Pierre has to ruin the fun for us. With such a large area to explore, it seems easy to get lost at first, but it's quite simple to figure out where to go. In the 3 corners of the room there are closed doors, so all that's left is to jump down. There are a lot of lions in this stage, and they just keep coming. Here we have another puzzle with pressure pads and timed doors. There's not much room for error here, so it can be a little frustrating at first. Damn, look at those bloody spikes. Every single one of them has blood on it. What happened here? On the balcony, a couple of gorillas wait for us. Here we open the first door we saw earlier. Another boulder wants to crush us. A switch opens the second door and Pierre, you litterbug. The next secret is a bitch. Touching one of the pillars makes a timed door open. You have to be perfect to make it. It took me plenty of stupid deaths and swear words to make it. It's worth it though, because here we find new weapons. Dual magnums. More on them later. The third room is another block-pushing snooze fest. Such a waste of time. Here we find a key that we have to use on the balcony. From here we can swim to the next level. This stage is very heavy on lion killing action. It takes place in a Colosseum after all. The setting is amazing and the sheer size of it really blew me away back then. Even today it's a part I always look forward to. If Colosseum is the lion level, then Palace Midas is the gorilla level. Nice pool by the way. There are tons of gorillas that want you dead. The goal is to find 3 lead bars. In the main room there's a bunch of doors again. Each door has 5 inscriptions on it, showing us which of these 5 switches have to be pulled. Behind the first door are fire pillars. Stepping over the line turns off the flames for about 10 seconds. You have to be speedy. Back then this felt impossible. The controls are fine when you take your time, but here you don't have time, and that's where the flaws in the controls become more apparent. There's always a slight delay in Lara's movement and turning feels kinda stiff. You really have to know your shit or you'll be burnt alive. Even standing next to the flames drains your energy. Oh, and there are rats in the water. Harmless, but disgusting. Grab the first lead bar and move on. The second room has a giant pillar in the center and no way up. So what do? Pull a block and the ceiling collapses.
How fucking strong is this woman?
I mean, Jesus Christ, look at this mess. At least we can progress now. The next part is quite long with even more gorillas, crocodiles and bats. I always get slightly nervous fighting the gorillas so close to the edge. Here I'm never sure if I can make that jump. It looks so far away, but apparently it's no problem for the Hulk lady. Now we're back at the pool, but on an upper level. Man, this level is big. After finding the second lead bar and killing a bunch more animals, it's back to the room with the switches. The third room is filled with spikes. A switch raises some pillars and all we have to do is jump across them. Just watch out for this crazy gorilla. With the third and final lead bar in our possession, we go to the Garden of King Midas.
Do you all know the legend of King Midas and his golden touch? I learned about it very early on because of an old Disney short from the 1930s.
So here we have to use King Midas' hand to turn our lead bars into gold bars.
I have a better idea.
Use the save crystal and climb onto the hand. Lara turns into fucking gold. Wow! One of the best moments in video game history. With the 3 gold bars we can open a door and exit the stage. Palace Midas is an outstanding level with great puzzles, smart level design and elements of the supernatural. For me it is the second best after St. Francis Folly. After all, how can you go wrong with a golden Lara? In my 2010 review I stated that Cistern is one of my 2 least favorite levels in this game.
Even in 2010, this is still a pain in the ass and my most hated level.
Let's see if that still holds true. Look at that giant red-eyed rat. Is it possessed by the rat devil? Yeah, so I guess you can say this is the rat devil level. This stage also centers around a giant room containing locked doors. It comes with a twist, however. We have to raise and lower the water in order to get to certain places. And I gotta tell you, this gets pretty damn complicated. Even though I've played this game so many times, I never seem to remember what I have to do here. It's some Zelda water temple shit, but 2 years earlier. It doesn't help that Pierre, who was absent from the previous stage, shows up not once, not twice, but 3 times.
Give my liver a break.
You know, I've attempted several no meds, no saves runs over the years, and I have never made it past Pierre in this stage. Usually, I like it when he shows up, but here he overstays his welcome. I'll save you the details of how to beat this level. Search for 5 keys, try not to get too confused, and leave the main area after an eternity. The final room is interesting because the checkerboard floor has broken tiles with spikes under them. All in all, I can say that my opinion on this level hasn't changed. It's such a chore to play and I never look forward to this. But after so many great stages in a row, I can't really complain too much. After several open stages, Tomb of Tihocan takes a more linear approach. It starts in a long water tunnel. Here we also have to change the water level with a switch, but it's not as complicated as before. The current makes us swim very fast and it's a pretty cool moment. In the next area we have to jump past the swinging blade.
Pierre!
Can't you see I'm shooting a crocophant here? Watch out for the chomping blades. This next secret is another cryptic one. You have to walk over 3 specific squares to open a door. I know they look slightly different, but come on! I found this weird glitch where you can't climb up because the door is closed. I guess I have to commit suicide. Or not. We have another room with closed doors. This time we have to push a block onto certain squares. The developers really loved pushing blocks, didn't they? One room contains 2 rolling boulders and another has more chomping blades. With 2 keys we can open the final door and slide down to the next area. This part looks different. Here is the tomb we've been looking for. After swimming around and finding a switch, the door opens. Let's go inside. Holy shit! What the hell is this? Yeah, forget lions and crocodiles, this is the real deal. It looks fucking disgusting. The centaur shoots fireballs at us, so keep side flipping and shooting. Eventually it will explode into a million pieces. That was intense. Thankfully, the second one doesn't come to life. Inside the tomb we find that the Scion has already been taken by our arch nemesis.
A little late for the prize giving, no? Still, it is the taking part which counts.
I've really had it with you, Pierre. After shooting him with 6 billion bullets, he finally goes down.
Au revoir, Pierre.
The dual pistols have spoken. Let's rob that sucker. He has magnums, the Scion and a key for us. Lara finds Tihocan's crypt and reads some hieroglyphs. Tomb of Tihocan is probably the least memorable of the Greece levels, except for the ending. It feels like maybe it was one too many. It's a decent stage, but by this point I'm getting tired of this setting a bit. And that concludes the Greece levels. The first 3 stages are among the best you can find not only in the series, but on the PlayStation in general. Maybe it goes on for a bit too long. Now it's time for a change of scenery. In another stunning CGI cutscene, Lara puts the 2 pieces of the Scion together and receives a vision. She sees that one of the 3 rulers of Atlantis used the Scion to create a demonic creature. Qualopec and Tihocan take the Scion from the 3rd ruler. After an asteroid impact, the Scion is divided into 3 pieces and scattered all over the world. The last piece seems to be in Egypt, so Lara takes her motorcycle to get there. As one does. City of Khamoon is the first Egypt level. Naturally, we see a lot more sand from now on. It starts fairly innocently with a block puzzle. Soon enough we meet our first enemy, a black panther. You could say it's a lion with black paint. I love the look. Best we start to use the magnums as I have a lot of ammo by now. Let's go down to the Sphinx. Where are these footsteps coming from? Holy hell, what the F? A mummy on 4 legs? It screams like an idiot and can jump really far. The enemies just get stronger and stronger. Behind this Sphinx is a key that we need to progress. I love the level design with the hieroglyphs on the wall and stuff. Visually, it's the most interesting level so far. I dig the magnums. They sound heavy and do a lot of damage. We even get some familiar animals in the form of crocodiles. And of course there have to be boulders. There is this tall room where we once again have to push and pull a block. By now I'm starting to get seriously tired of this mechanic. It's not challenging but just boring. So we push and push and push and God damn, that mummy came out of nowhere! Thankfully it didn't push me off the edge. So now we can go down to this cat statue. The room is dark at first, but we can open a hatch to let some light in.
I still remember the first time I watched my father play this game. This was the exact part where we stopped because I would have to leave for Germany again. So I would spend the next 3 to 6 months wondering what would happen next. It felt like an eternity.
This room is swarming with panthers, so it's best to not fall down there. With pistols, it takes forever to kill them. Look at this mess. So many dead panthers. I bet Peter's gonna be pissed. These mummies are always good for a jump scare. A switch makes a large chunk of sand drop into the room below. We use this sand to get to the exit. City of Khamoon is not the most exciting level in the world, but I like it nonetheless. After 5 grease levels, it's a nice change of scenery and it's light on the cryptic moments. Obelisk of Khamoon starts with 4 doors that are blocked by blocks.
Whoa-ho.
The main objective is to drop 4 bridges to the central column in another tall room. There are even more mummies guarding this place. Oh, and did I mention that they explode when they die?
On one hand it's cool, on the other the explosions hurt you. Not cool.
I forgot how complicated this level is. It's not linear, so you never know where you have to go next. To get one of the secrets, you have to perform this insane jump. One switch changes slides to steps and vice versa. Confusing stuff. The best part is this creepy dark room with 2 mummies. The music elevates this part so much. So most of my time I just wander around clueless. Climb here, swim there, pull switches and kill mummies and panthers. After running back and forth, climbing up and down and revisiting the same areas over and over again, eventually I lowered all 4 bridges and picked up the items on them. Now we return to the Sphinx from the previous level and place the artifacts where they belong. This opens the door to the next level.
I gotta be honest, I don't like this stage anymore.
The lack of direction frustrates me. In fact, I think I'd rather play Cistern. In Sanctuary of the Scion, the game takes a dark turn. The level starts with a long staircase and 2 disgusting mutants. Now we know what those mummies were. The shotgun is very effective here. Look at this creepy monster lurking around. This is one of my favorite areas in the entire game. Why? Giant Sphinx. It looks so mysterious in the darkness. We have to find 2 switches and those are found along the top of the walls. Watch out. After pulling a switch, a mutant with goddamn wings starts flying at you. This just gets scarier by the minute. We can get the 4th and final weapon in this level. The Uzis are found on an invisible platform? This freaks me out every time. But the Uzis are such a kick-ass weapon, it's totally worth it. Each switch opens a door to an area with a centaur guarding an Ankh. By this point I'm not using the pistols anymore because I have so much ammo for every other weapon. That makes these fights a lot easier. With both Ankhs in our possession we can climb up the Sphinx. Standing on its head is always a special moment. And falling down to your death too.
I just couldn't resist. Sorry, Lara.
Now we can drop down to an area under the Sphinx. This place is filled with water and it gets very deep. We have to find a switch somewhere down there, but that's easier said than done with limited air. Every time I have trouble finding it because it's so hard to see the damn switch. I had been here a couple of times and I didn't see it at first. After lowering the water level and killing another flying demon, we have to climb down these giant statues. Next we have to follow a long passageway back to the top. And by long, I mean it takes forever. Pick up the scarab and kill a whole bunch of mutants in the starting area. With enough medipacks in your backpack, you should make it. Insert the scarab and make your way to the 3rd piece of the Scion. But look who got here before us.
I still got a pain in my brain from you. And it's telling me funny ideas now, like to shoot you to hell.
Our old pal Larsen is back and wants to kill us for good. Don't let him. With Larsen dead, we grab the final piece of the Scion and finish the last Egypt level. This is an incredible stage with a certain mystique to it. The atmosphere is phenomenal and it almost feels like a horror game with these skinless mutants everywhere. I enjoy 2/3 of the Egypt levels very much, and visually these are my favorite places to be in this game. Lara leaves the caves but is captured by a cowboy, a skater dude and a big bald guy. Quite the crew we got here. They disarm her and then Natla shows up, demanding the Scion. Upon getting it, she wants her goons to kill Lara, but she manages to escape at the last second. With her motorcycle, she follows them. Then she jumps off the bike into the water and climbs onto their yacht. Talk about a badass moment. Here she hides and gets some well-deserved rest. Later, she follows them to a mysterious island. We surface in an underground lake. Welcome to Natla's Mines. In my 2010 review, I stated that this was the second level I disliked.
I have nightmares about this level.
I can confess that I didn't look forward to this at all, but we'll see what happens. We discover pretty quickly that we have lost all of our weapons and can't defend ourselves. That's not a big issue because thankfully there aren't many enemies here. At least we keep our medicine and that useless compass. This level is all about puzzles and figuring out what to do next. It's like Cistern and Obelisk of Khamoon, but way more complicated. I'm not joking when I tell you that you have to pull a switch on one side of the level that opens a door on the opposite side, where you have to pull a switch that opens another door back where the first switch was. It takes such a long time to navigate here. We have to find 3 fuses, and this is truly a scavenger hunt. The level is full of breakable tiles, rolling boulders, easy to miss doors and aimless running around. This part with the boulders is tricky because you have to get to the other side of the room quickly without jumping into the barriers. Weirdly enough, the boulders reset when you leave the area. Is there a giant mutant that puts them back in their place?
Yeah, right. There are no giant mutants in this game.
The thing I always remember about this stage are the Natla blocks. Of course, it turns into a block pushing orgy. If I still had my weapons, I would kill myself. Not really. Life has so much to give. On your first playthrough, you will most likely get stuck here at some point. It's a big level. When you finally have all fuses and insert them, the smaller building will come down. I guess today is our lucky day because here we find our good old dual pistols. I missed you. Now we can finally progress. Look at that fool. I can see you behind that rock. The cowboy shoots at us with our own magnums.
Nothing personal.
Take him out and reclaim the weapons. I think it's hilarious how many shots the humans can take in this game. With 2 weapons in our arsenal, we can leave the first part of the level. Now we have to traverse over lava without falling into it.
I said without falling into it.
No.
From here on out, the level gets more linear. Thank God. It's quite enjoyable actually, with some fun platforming sections. We even get to blow stuff up with a TNT box. In an underground skate park, we meet the skater boy with our Uzis.
You firing at me? You firing at me? Ain't nobody else here. You must be firing at me.
This feels really out of place, but it's so 90s that it's awesome again. Now all that's missing is the shotgun. But first, more boulders. A little too much trial and error for my taste. Sometimes you have to stand on a certain spot in order for it to move. It's weird. This whole section with more blocks isn't too exciting either. At the end of the level we meet the bald guy with our shotgun. He also takes quite a punch, but now we have all of our weapons back.
What did he just say? I'm glad that rude man is dead.
All that's left is to climb on top of the pyramid, pull a switch and collect the pyramid key. And that's the end of Natla's Mines. This is my least favorite level for sure. I like some elements and it's fun to slowly get your weapons back, but it has too many slow sections where it's not clear what to do. I'm sure a lot of people love this stage because it's one big riddle. It's just not for me. In a cutscene, Natla places the Scion on an altar and we see parts of the mountain explode, revealing parts of the pyramid under it. Now we're in deep shit as we enter Atlantis. At first it's dark, but the light turns on as we enter the pyramid. We see 6 incubators with giant eggs. Take a wild guess what's inside them. Of course it's mutants. This level is full of them. Don't even bother using the pistols. A few blasts with a shotgun should do the trick. As we enter the upper floor and pull some switches, more of them hatch and this time they have wings. As if we didn't have enough crap to worry about. The floor and walls are pulsating and it feels like the whole place is alive. It looks bloody and gory. That's usually not my thing, but here it gels with the atmosphere. The stage centers around the tallest room in the game. We can see some ledges above that we have to reach and even some frozen enemies that haven't been triggered yet.
In other words,
They're waiting for us.
The AI in this game isn't the best. This guy just doesn't get me. Sad. Unlike Natla's Mines, this level is linear and it's easy to figure out what to do. The danger comes from the sheer amount of enemies we face. Dealing with a flying mutant next to a lava pit and the sharp blades gives enough stress. That and entering a room full of eggs ready to hatch. I'm sorry, but this place looks like Satan's rectum.
just lost my appetite.
There's another boulder puzzle that's easy to solve. Push a block in front of the ramp, leave the room, and some mysterious force will put the boulder back where it came from.
Giant monster!
I hate the mutants in the tall room. The AI always follows Lara, so it basically just hugs the wall and I can't shoot it that way. As we go, the most nerve-wracking parts are when you hear them but don't know where they are. Sounds like they're having too much fun. When they can't reach you, they shoot fireballs or white projectiles, but you can dodge them without a fuss. Don't pull that switch, Lara, it's a trap! Now here we have everything the game has to offer. Arrows, boulders and blades all at once. Speaking of traps, what the fuck is this shit? How would you know that on your first run? You can backflip after pulling the switch, even though it looks wrong. The mutants don't stop coming and everything just explodes. Damn! This is one of the coolest parts of the game. This fleshy creature mimics every move Lara makes, and if you shoot it, it will shoot back at you. Reminds me of E.T. without skin. In order to progress, we have to open a hatch and make mutant Lara fall down into it. Are you alright down there? Okay, thanks, bye. After that, we kill more centaurs and mutants before we enter the room with the Scion and a giant incubator. Lara grabs the Scion. In a CGI cutscene, it is revealed that Natla was the third ruler of Atlantis. She got punished by Qualopec and Tihocan for creating the mutants. Natla and Lara have a little chit-chat. Lara tries to destroy the Scion, but Natla tackles her. While Lara manages to hold on to the edge, Natla falls down into the lava. Then we hear a countdown as we see the giant egg. Atlantis feels completely different from the rest of the game, except maybe Sanctuary of the Scion. This place is packed with monsters and every step is perilous. But it's a straightforward level with lots of action. What's not to like? This is it, the final level. The Great Pyramid starts with a boss fight and I'm at loss for words here. To this day, this is one of the most sickening things I have ever seen. A giant legless mutant. We have to be careful not to fall off the edge or get too close to the monster. As a kid, I couldn't beat this beast, but to be honest, it's really easy. The mutant is sluggish, so keeping distance shouldn't be a problem. After over 600 Uzi bullets, it explodes and we're back on track towards the Scion. Of course, we have to solve some block puzzles first. Hop across lava, run away from more boulders, and we're back. We shoot the Scion. It fucking explodes and the whole place starts to quake. More mutants emerge, so it's best to get the hell out of here. Am I the only one who feels uncomfortable hanging on a flesh wall? With the swinging blade, we have to time it perfectly. Hey, you can't do that! This level has the trickiest platforming sections for sure. This part right here always gives me a headache. There are boulders, blades, more boulders for good measure, lava, torch pillars, and this ridiculous jump at the end. Dying means repeating all of that. I died here more times than I'd like to admit. The worst part about it is that the very last secret has a bug where it doesn't count. That's unacceptable. I've been searching for every damn secret in the entire game only to be cut short by the very last one?
I call bullshit. Can I sue someone?
Well, it's not like we get a reward or anything for finding every secret. But still, now we enter the very last room and the evil witch Natla has grown wings and shoots fireballs. She goes down very quickly, or so you think. She's back and she chases you through the tunnels.
You can't bump off me and my brood so easy, Lara.
Pump more bullets in her and now she's officially dead. Pretty disappointing final encounter, especially following the boss fight at the start. Now all we have to do is make our way to the top and slide down the slope. Ladies and gentlemen, we have beaten Tomb Raider. Look how much ammo and medicine I had left. It's kind of a waste.
Maybe I was the litterbug all along.
The Great Pyramid is a tough level. Not many enemies, but the platforming is tricky and it's best for expert Tomb Raiders. All in all, the Atlantis levels are a highlight in the grand scheme of things. For me personally, it's my least favorite chapter. But that only tells you how good the other sections are. In the final CGI cutscene, we see Lara escaping from the exploding pyramid and swimming back to the boat. For some reason, the brightness in my recording is all messed up. Those have to be the shortest credits I have seen in a while. It took me a little over 9 hours to beat the game.
I want to take a few moments to talk specifically about the sound.
It is probably my favorite aspect of the entire game. The voice acting, except for Lara, is kind of cheesy, but we've had worse on the PlayStation.
I'll harness it right up your...
Mostly you can hear exactly which type of enemy is approaching you, and the blades sound heavy and deadly. When it's silent and all I hear are my own footsteps, it makes me feel trapped and isolated. No one is here to help us, we're completely on our own. Sometimes we hear very short pieces of music that indicate some sort of danger. I love it. Even better are the echoes in the caves. That is Tomb Raider for me. Only on rare occasions we hear orchestrated classical music. It was so different from other game music I had heard up to this point in my life. Whether it's calm and beautiful, suspenseful or energetic, it always hits the nail on the head. As a kid, I was probably too bored one day, so I put the CD into my Discman. Yes, we used to use those things. And to my surprise, you could listen to the entire soundtrack, including the dialogue. That still kind of blows my mind.
In honor of the great work by Nathan McCree, here are my top 5 songs from Tomb Raider.
Number 5. The moment we enter the Colosseum, we hear a song that gives it a mysterious but also very beautiful touch. Number 4. This is a very short track, but the choir gives me chills every time I hear it. Number 3. The main theme is such a classic. It's easy to forget just how beautiful it actually is. When it occasionally pops up during gameplay, it's always a special moment. Number 2. Seeing the T-Rex for the first time while hearing this music is one of the best memories I have. Such an exciting track for a battle of this magnitude. Number 1. This piece of music is the definition of epic. It starts quiet and explodes into awesomeness. No wonder I liked Thor's room so much back then.
Let's wrap this up.
Yes, obviously not everything is great. The camera can be a total bitch at times. It always follows Lara, but when she has her back against the wall, it's hard to see where to go sometimes. And yeah, the controls. I have played the game for most of my life and I come back to it regularly, so I'm accustomed to it. Newcomers will most likely get frustrated at first. The controls are stiff, but they work for slow and calm gameplay moments. When it gets hectic, it's harder to handle. The best example for this are the fire pillars in Palace Midas. Making running jumps and turning at the same time doesn't feel very responsive and it has a slight delay. I have mixed feelings about the save crystals. On one hand, it makes the experience more tense when you can't save everywhere. On the other hand, it's tedious to replay the same sections over and over again. On this playthrough, I only had one part that gave me serious trouble, so it's not a big deal for me anymore. Back then it was, thanks to many trial and error moments. Just like all the cryptic crap. I would never have found some of these secrets on my own. My least favorite aspect is pushing blocks, but we've covered that enough already. This game has lost none of its magic. There's a certain feeling I get when I play this game that I can't really put into words. I don't think it's the best game in the series, but only this game makes me feel so alone. There are only a handful of human enemies. Larsen and Pierre are memorable characters that you love to hate. It's a long journey full of mystery, ancient tombs, dangerous creatures, and supernatural elements. Lara is a cool character. There was no need for character development or anything like that. She was just a badass woman, and that was enough for me. She can do anything and is incredibly strong.
My dad used to joke that he could never be in a relationship with Lara Croft because he couldn't keep up with her. Hey, wait for me!
Of course, the graphics have aged poorly, and on a modern TV the flickering sticks out even more, but I've never cared about that. When it came out, the in-game graphics and the CGI cutscenes looked amazing to me, and I will never forget just how invested I was in this game when I was younger. In fact, I think the atmosphere even benefits from the poor draw distance. Me and my brother would pretend to be on adventures just like Lara in the living room or our garden.
I remember when I showed this game to a friend back in first grade, the very first thing he said on German was, "Boah, die spitze Titten," which means, man, she's got spiky boobs. I will never forget that.
Some of the best moments from my childhood are watching my dad play Tomb Raider 1 and 2 and figuring out what to do next together. I hope I can replicate that someday when I have children. It would mean a lot to me. I will say that we couldn't figure out some levels back then. I partially blame the dark TV, but one glorious day my dad brought home walkthroughs that he had printed at work. Because you gotta remember, we didn't have the internet at home back then, so this was a huge deal.
My dad used to call these walkthroughs farfars praktiska råd. I still have them somewhere.
By the way, I like the inventory wheel. We have one for options, one for weapons and medicine, and one for items. You know the game is old when you see how we exit the menu. Not circle like in modern games or triangle like in most PS1 and PS2 games, but square. We've almost come full circle.
I expect PS6 games to use the X button to exit menus.
There are 3 levels that I don't like that much, but the other 12 are good or even great. From Lost Valley to Palace Midas, we pretty much have 5 incredible stages in a row. So basically, the first half is really strong. Lara dies in many horrible ways here. It's quite brutal actually. While later games have way more weapons, here we only have 4, but that's all we need. For the first half I mostly only used the pistols, and by then I have more than enough ammo and medicine for the rest of the game. While both the shotgun and the Uzis are seriously kicking ass, my favorite weapons are the magnums. I love how heavy they sound. I like that Lara aims at the enemies automatically. This way you know there's something nearby even if you didn't see it yourself yet because of the weird camera. So it isn't the most accessible game in the series. If you have an open mind about it and you're willing to take your time and learn the controls and the old school game mechanics, I'm sure you will get a kick out of it. If it's too frustrating, you can always use a level skip cheat or get all the weapons with infinite ammo. Infinite ammo is also a bonus you get when you beat the game and start a new adventure. If you don't want it on PlayStation or Saturn, you can try to get the MS-DOS version to work. That version lets you save anywhere, but it has no music, so choose wisely. On the plus side, it has an add-on called Tomb Raider Gold or Unfinished Business with 4 additional levels, which I also reviewed in 2010. As an alternative, there's Tomb Raider Anniversary, which is a remake of the game from 2007 with updated gameplay and visuals. In the Tomb Raider community, the original is a very beloved game.
For me, this is one of the best games of all time, a pure classic that was groundbreaking in so many ways. But most importantly, it changed the way a 7-year-old kid looked at video games. Forever.
Hey everyone, this is GFrom. Thank you so much for watching my video. Feel free to rate, comment, subscribe and follow me on social media. I'll see you later. Have a nice day.